Hello, and welcome, friends. We are here live on Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023 for Astro Chat and Chill. I'm here on twitch.tv and also on Instagram. No, okay. And we are going to be talking about the astrology of the day. So say hello if you're here. And if you are catching the replay, what's up, whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on Facebook. Facebook. What the fuck did I... Facebook. I'm not posting the replays on Facebook. I'm posting them on YouTube. YouTube. Hello. All right, friends. So if you want to follow along, I actually do plan on bringing up some of the like astrology of the moment, like in Twitch today. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee because for some reason thoughts are like about 30 seconds behind my mouth today. So all right, let's get into it. I've got a lot of thoughts today. This week has been really weird. Like just the last week or so in general has been very interesting, like just on a personal level. And I mean, I've been talking about it for the last week, right? How the astrology of what's happening, especially the the Venus-Neptune conjunction, and then now we're in Pisces season, and Venus entering Aries with the new moon, and just, right, there's been so much, not commotion, but a little bit. Saturn cazimi, I mean, shit, right? So there's just been like this identification with what it is that we want to be doing and like in the big picture. And I always feel like the end of Saturn cycles, like beginning of Saturn cycles, like there's always this like kind of like 2 week, like maybe like month long period where, I mean, we're in like a transition portal. So it's like we're ending one season of work and we're entering another. And so it's like, you know, closing of chapters and maybe even revisiting of chapters, and like recommitting to things or being able to drop different parts of what you had committed to before. And so I feel like it's just been all like too real and too relevant. And yeah, this is one of the reasons that I love astrology so much, is because, you know, like one of my catchphrases that I use is like, this is something that I use to help you learn to love yourself better, like to better understand yourself and the world around you. Because I know that for so many of us, it's not necessarily that we don't believe in ourselves or that we aren't sure of like what it is that we want, but it's all those external variables. It's like the chaos of the world, or like our perceived chaos of the world, that keeps us in a state of like frustration, in a state of like stagnation, a state of, you know, resistance of like actually moving forward. And so that's, you know, it's not just like, let's use your chart to tell you who you are, because you are so much more complicated and so much more nuanced than any chart can tell us. It can give us a lot of information, but I mean, there are high and low and in the middle, right, expressions of any frequency. So it's not as clear cut as that. But that's not the only reason to use this. I really feel that when we understand just better, like what is happening in the moment, it allows us to really like ride that wave and stay in flow. So with that said, I am going to pull open, dang it, I did it again. I'm going to pull open my screen over here on Twitch. If you want to follow along, you can come hang out with me over on twitch.tv. / Mama Capricorn with an underscore at the end. If you want to catch that later, you can also go over to YouTube. But if you just want to listen, that is cool too. And you can hang out with me on Instagram. You know, however you want to consume things is your deal, right? So we have some things that I've already been talking about. We got the moon entered Aries. Well, it's been void, of course, a little bit. And so technically, we get like a real, like it actually enters the sign in like 15 minutes. So probably by the time I'm done with this live, the moon will be like squarely in Aries and we'll be out of that like void of course period. Mercury trining Mars, I mentioned this yesterday. It started the build up yesterday. And now like we're having the direct moment today. And then this will like phase out tomorrow as the two planets continue to move. Now, Mercury trining Mars, and right now, like trines happen when things are in the same element. Okay, so they're both in air signs right now. So this is an air trine. So air trines are times where you're going to want to like communicate, where you're going to want to get out and do something different, do something new. I don't necessarily see this as a day of like a lot like making big commitments. In fact, I think that this would be a really good day to experiment with, like, I was talking about this with a client yesterday, with like listening to your intuition when it doesn't matter, right? So keeping it really light. So things like, do I want to go left or do I want to go right? Do I want coffee or do I want tea? Do I want salad or do I want soup, right? Just simple, silly, like little things. Hey, things that are more inconsequential, right? Because for so many things, we externalize or we get into our heads about making decisions, and it's not where like real decisions are made. And so when we get out of our head and allow our intuition to speak to us in moments where it's super salad and it just like literally does not matter, it's going to be easier for you to tap into that feeling and listen to it when the, answer is like, or when the question is something like, do I quit my or not? Or do I, move something bigger, So that is, one of the things that I would really suggest today, because Mercury is, of course, in Aquarius with, Mars being over in Gemini. So I just see this as like a really light day where you want to try different things and do something different. And maybe this is a time, actually, like now that I'm thinking about it, how I will probably use this day, just like fully transparently. And, if you want to take another like look at this, so over here, on my screen on Twitch, I'm going to pull this open with my natal chart. So if we look at where this is, and my golly, I'm just like not a young thing anymore. I need a bigger screen. Okay, so Mercury, right, is here in Aquarius, and then we have Mars over here in Gemini. So for me specifically, we're seeing that this is in my first house, this is in my 9th house. So oh my god, this is too, like, I can't even deal with that. That's all right, like, go away, don't call, like, I feel very called out right now, very called out, like right here in public in front of everybody. So that's super cool. What the fuck? Okay. Okay, so the 9th house is the house of like higher thinking. It's the house of like lessons that are not like, nor like school, I guess you could say, right? So when we go into the 9th house, we're looking at like college, okay, but we're looking at like schools of thought, right? So this is like philosophy, this is even things like astrology or yoga, right? All 9th house stuff. So we have that going on. First house, of course, is like first impression, how you're seen by people. Now, not even taking all the other stuff into consideration, seeing that like the sun is really close to my north node, and just some other stuff that's going on. I have already planned on using today, before even looking at what's going on. I wanted to talk to y'all. So, okay. My my Saturn and Aquarius journey has been so interesting. Saturn's been transiting my ninth house this whole time. And when this started in 2020, I created this program and it was huge, like immediately from the beta round. It was, I mean, insane. In fact, someone was messaging me about this program this morning, so I can't even deal. I taught it for a little over a year, or about a year, and then I found like some information out about the person who like created it's hard for me to talk about this in abstract terms, so I guess I'm just going to talk about it. Here we are talking about it, which really goes along with that Aries Venus trining Lilith today, because I guess Fanny is just saying it like it is and burning it down today, and whoever's going to listen is going to listen, and if you don't want to listen, this is your opportunity to go away, with all the love in my heart. Right, so I was teaching a program about human design, and people came to me. I will tell you, even now, as someone who does not use or subscribe to human design, I am still like I'm very good at this, and I'm better at it than most. Even the people that are very high up in this field, people would come to me and tell me, this program is so much more impactful. I really understand this now. And so this was like a point of pride for me. This was something that, I poured my heart and soul and like everything into for over a year. There were hundreds of students in this program, like by the time I ended up closing it. And I closed it because I found out some like serious shit about the creator of human design. He was a bad fucking dude. If you want to talk to me about it, we can. But it sent me through a whole moment of like having to like what is true and what's not true, and just like having to filter through like what I wanted to do moving forward. And like transparently, this is not a hobby for me. This is my business. This is my 9th year. Oh my God. This will be my 9th year in business, my 6th year as a coach. My 7th year as a coach. And so this is not, I don't have a 9 to 5, like this is my job. And so when I decided to kill this program, I had to do something else, but I like completely, like, it was like, I had demonstrated over and over that I knew how to build a business. So I'm just like, okay, cool. We're just going to like turn that completely off and go to business coaching while I figure this out. Right. And I did that for like close to 2 years now, like a year and a half. It was almost like half and half of the whole like Saturn and Aquarius transit, from like this like rise and this fall and this like then rise again, where, it was like becoming very like known for this thing that I was doing, for teaching human design, and then like having to leave it behind because I just can't stand behind something, and I don't want my name next to something that was like ultimately created by someone who's not a good person, who had terrible intentions, and who took a lot of, I don't even know, like maybe what could have been good, like something good, and turned it into something ugly and harmful, and something that makes people feel like there's a hierarchy, or like that there's superiority among like some people, and then some people are special and some people are not, and that's just absolutely absurd. That some people have control over, like that some people can make decisions for themselves and some people can't. Like that's ridiculous. You're allowed to have your model of the world. You're allowed to, if something is adding great value to your life, I'm not the one to tell you that it's not for you. It's not for me. That said, there was a student of human design for a long time His name is Richard Rudd. And after 7 years, which this is like the human design promise, is after 7 years of living according to your design, that because all of your cells regenerate every 7 years, that you should be good, right? That you should be like aligned now or whatever. And what Richard Rudd was noticing is that after 7 years, everyone was still an asshole and really had only gotten like more that way, right? Like if they came in as an asshole, like they were like just more like, okay, like it like enabled them and empowered them to be a fucking asshole, right? So Richard Rudd, after 7 years, when he noticed this, he walked away and he created something called the gene keys. And what I love about the gene keys, just the same way that I love this about astrology, is that the gene keys it's not a hierarchy system, and it's not telling you like how to make decisions, or like it's not, the language also of human design is intentionally disempowering. I can tell you that from like literally the people who physically wrote it with him, who are now trying to do the work to undo it, which I don't know, good for you, I guess, but like, I don't know, that's your business and Godspeed in your quest, right? But the language of human design was intentionally disempowering. They intentionally gatekeep the information. It reminds me a lot, now that I'm like on the outside, like the way that the structure works is very similar to like Scientology, right? Which like, okay, that's okay. Whereas something I love about gene keys and about like astrology in general, I mean, astrology is so old that like you can't gatekeep the information if you wanted to. Like it is just literally everywhere. It's been here for 5,000 plus years now. So like fuck off with trying to like own it. But with gene keys, which was something that Richard Rudd technically, could gatekeep if he wanted to, he doesn't. Like all of the like workshops and things like that are going to give you like information are very like low end, very affordable, like, and it's all there for you. Like he's not hiding anything, and you can go on to his website and literally like get so much, like your whole free profile and like so much information there, and it's really, really good stuff. And the thing that really strikes me too is when you listen, and that's so fucked up, like most people, because of the level of gatekeeping involved with human design, most people who are coming into contact with it have never even heard the creator speak. Like they've never even heard it come out of his mouth or like seen him deliver it. I mean, it's like cult shit 101, y'all. Like the way that he talks is in this very monotone and in a long drawn out voice. And I was told by people who were there with him that they would go and they would sit down, and then like 8 hours later he would just like stop talking, and they'd be like waking up from this trance state where they like didn't get up to go to the bathroom or didn't eat, or like what the fuck, right? It's like, anyway, not something I'm into. And like I knew it intellectually, but I guess emotionally I wasn't ready to like see it until the proof was in front of me, right? But when you listen to Richard Rudd, like he's got, he's a person with personality and tone in his voice and humor. And you feel the gentleness, and that's something I also really appreciate too, is it just like you can feel the energy in the person. There's no system, there's no thing, right? Astrology, gene keys, anything. There's no thing that is like going to define you and tell you like how to be the perfect person. But I do think that there's a lot of value, especially in these two systems, in oh my god, what did I almost just say? In astrology and in the gene keys. And I do want to make the distinction about like why I might choose to bring back gene keys and still like exile human design, even though gene keys is technically it wouldn't exist without human design, right? But I feel that way about a lot of things. I mean, like A Course in Miracles wouldn't exist without like a Judeo-Christian concept, because like the way that this is all written, I mean, this just sounds like me on an acid trip, if I'm honest with you. And so it makes like perfect sense to me, but the language of it is like God and Father and like brother in Christ and Jesus, and it's using a lot of these words, but I think it's just because it was like written in the 70s, I think, by white people. I'm really not sure, honestly, but like it just sounds like very like it was written by someone who had a Judeo-Christian perception of reality and then was trying to translate this message through that. And so it's like, are we, even though so much harm has happened in the world as a result of like, you know, right, like Christianity, or like having like desiring to like follow in the steps of Christ is different than like the organization of the church. I think most people like get that. If you're watching this, you absolutely fucking get that. So I don't even need to keep elaborating. But like, there's so much harm in the world that's been done because of that organization. Like, but this is great, you know? And I feel that way too about Gene Keys. Is that, okay, the roots of it, like where it came from, like where or what inspired it, maybe. Not great. I don't love it. Not awesome. And I still don't want it in my space or in my life or like in my, you know, practice. But I feel very like I still have a very strong affinity for the Gene Keys. And so for that reason, I am really spending today working on a project for that, because I have a lot of ideas in mind. I'm taking my yoga teacher training. It starts in like 2 weeks. And my intention is to essentially like fuse all of these things that I've been practicing for so long, and like bring it together in a facilitation space. So I'm really excited about that. Definitely more to come on that tomorrow. Today is the day of, right, it's Wednesday, so it's the day of Mercury. This would be a really good day to do something different and to like do something or say something maybe that's been on your heart. Like all of this is coming out of me today. It's a little challenging, if I'm going to be honest. Definitely a little challenging to verbalize all of this and say it out loud in a space that's not my like subscriber group. Like my membership people all know this. Oh my gosh, and Krista, like you have to come back and watch the beginning of this, because I was like, the Lord is connecting us today, girl. Like I can't. So Krista, she, for anybody who's like watching this right now on Twitch or whatever, she was with me at the beginning of that program that I taught about human design, and she actually facilitated the program. She was like one of my, she was on my team for a little bit while we were doing that. So weird that you would be here today as I am like literally talking about that, and literally talking about the like Saturn and Aquarius journey of really coming into like solidifying what my values, what my morals are. Like if I'm going to be a student of something, if I'm going to be even a teacher of something, and especially something that is like, you know, one of these like philosophical or like spiritually oriented concepts, like I have to be morally behind it. And that's like the whole lesson from Saturn transiting my 9th house. And so now as it's making its way into my 10th, and yeah, I'm just like ready to come back for what I want, right? Like to come back here and fuse the Gene Keys back into my work, without without bringing human design. Hey, babe. That's my babe. But yeah, so I actually think that that's probably all that we need to talk about today. What I'm going to say though, right? So everything that I've just said, right? If you go back and you listen to this, like, it's coming from a place of love and empathy and compassion and non-judgment, right? Like, again, and I've said this over and over to my membership, so they know by now, but maybe y'all don't. Like, I have zero skin in the game as far as whether or not you're interested in human design. Like, if human design adds something positive and valuable to your life, great. I don't entertain it, and I don't want to have it like be something that I'm not teaching on it. I don't want to really talk about it. And if you come into my space and you try to be like, oh, I can't do that because I'm going to tell you to get the fuck out of here with that. Like, we're going to talk about why you really either can't or don't want to, or what's in your way. And, you know, because there are no limitations on your being. That's ridiculous. Okay. But with that said, everything that I've said just now has been like respectful, right? And loving. And there may be the energy of wanting to tell people how you feel today with an Aries moon, Venus in Aries, trining Lilith. So that means we have also Lilith in a fire sign. So all of that is to say, like, we may be very courageous today, especially to communicate what it is that is on our heart or is in alignment with our values. But just make sure that it's not like you're, just because you believe this, and you may believe very strongly in what it is that you feel or what you want, and that's great, but that doesn't like usurp someone else's values or perception, and it doesn't make you superior to them or make you right and make them wrong. Like, everything in the world, like everything in our reality, is completely subjective, and it's completely based on your perception. And so have the courage to communicate what's true to you, while also giving room for other people to have their view of the world. And yeah, be respectful. That's all I've got for today. So I'm gonna go get to work a little bit more on this Gene Keys project that I've got going on, or Gene Key infused project I've got going on. I'll share more with you about that tomorrow on the day of Jupiter, because don't we always? We love a Jupiter day. So I'll catch you tomorrow. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye, friends.